Hello everybody. So for this video I wanted to do something a little bit different, something that I have seen multiple places online, on YouTube specifically, and the idea never really occurred to me to record a video like this, but because I didn't really have much prepared for this video for today, I decided I would go back through an old sketchbook of mine from a couple years back. As to when exactly it was from, I would probably have to refer to some of my older Instagram posts to pinpoint what years this encapsulates. But since I did a bunch of reorganizing of my room, I found a bunch of these old sketchbooks and started storing them together. So I figured I would just do a fun little sketchbook tour, which is something I've never done before. So we'll see how this goes. Oh, wow. Okay, all right. Well, first of all, I gave myself a little system, it would appear, that I've forgotten about, which was some sort of ordering system, I guess, for the different characters that were in this book. It's an interesting idea. We'll see if I actually did anything with it. There's a couple of these characters I recognize, and I think this was some sort of a team that I was building out. Some sort of comic team or like adventuring party. I remember this guy, I remember her, and I remember which character this is. So they probably will make an appearance here again. Oh, wow. Okay, so I did like a gorilla character here. I don't remember this guy at all. I do remember these guys because they originally were in the comic that my cousin Jonah and I made. There was a weird two-headed chicken character. Don't ask me why. But I do remember that. So I'm wondering if I was doing some sort of a combat version of these characters or something like that. Malice, okay. I think this character was roughly inspired by some of the characters from Tron. I loved the different patterning and light designs of the armor. I thought that was really, really cool. As for why this? You know what? No, I'm wrong. So now I'm starting to remember. I think this was when I was getting into the story of Subspace Emissary. And I loved the idea of these characters, like these bad guys, these villains, being controlled by some sort of puppet master. Who is controlling their actions, basically. So I think Malice was supposed to be the big bad, controlling some of the boss characters here. At least that's what I'm trying to remember. Oh, wow. So here I actually have some numbers. I'm trying to remember where some of these characters came from originally, but I got all these characters listed out here. I'm not sure what this was for. Something that I have done many times, even as far back as when these were drawn, was I was taking ideas and then redrawing them, moving them forward. So like I remember this character because it ended up being used in a card game. Not sure about some of these other characters, where they came from, but I think maybe they were from a previous sketchbook that I was trying to consolidate. We got Lord Dreadscorch. Interesting. This is very interesting because this character is in pencil. I think I actually like the design of this one better, but then I did a pen drawing here, which was probably supposed to be like the newer version, I suppose. But I almost like this one better, to be perfectly honest. Jar. You know what? I think I was designing some bosses for something. But I can't remember what for. But I definitely feel like this was some sort of a golem design, clearly, with like the symbol on the head or the chest. Just sort of like levitating pieces of rock that are being held together with magic. Oh, idea page. Dimension 1049, humans and monsters coexist. This is very interesting. This might have been the origins of Dimension 1049, which, if you're not familiar with that, it was basically just the idea of pulling all of my characters together into one unified universe, kind of. So this is interesting. So I did like a little hand droid character, which I like that, actually. I remember this character will probably show up at a later point. King Helios. I remember Ignatia. You got Scantron. I remember this guy. A lot of these characters wound up being redrawn in fuller glory later that wound up on my Instagram feed years ago on one of my older accounts. So there's the Eyeball Thief. I remember him. I remember this guy. I did not remember this little hand droid, and I really like it. Yeah, this is definitely the origins where this design came from. This is so interesting. I've forgotten all about this. Okay, so this is, again, I think what was going on was I was doing multiple renditions of the characters, it seems like. One in sort of felt tip marker and then one in pen. I don't know why I was duplicating them, because to be honest, a lot of these designs are better to me than some of the ones over here. I wonder why I was doing them. I was redoing them in pen. Okay, so I remember her. She's one of, I believe I called them the Infinites. I think that's what they're called. These characters that have these gray masks with these blue things for eyes and some of the blue decals. I do remember this phase for sure. Okay, so this was when I was getting into Copic markers. And let this be a warning to all artists out there. Do your research on materials. Not every kind of paper is going to work with every kind of art supply. So I learned this the hard way, that yeah, if you just use Copic markers on thinner paper, it's gonna bleed like crazy. And then for some reason, I don't remember why I drew the Pyro at all. That's definitely the Pyro from TF2. I remember, okay, so Glom. I think some of these were taken from older cards that I had drawn on the backs of my dad's old business cards. My dad gave me a box of business cards when I was a little kid, and I started drawing characters on the opposite side, like the blank side, to have instant trading cards, obviously. And so I think a lot of these sketches are me making new versions of the characters that were on the backs of those cards. That looks like a pen test. That's upside down. I remember these characters. I did renditions of my sister's succulents, her plants. I did like characters based off of those. So I remember this guy. I remember a lot of these characters that I didn't remember their origins being the way that they were. I definitely remember this guy, this Forge character. And I remember her. I remember she was like a fallen elf character, or she did something with dark magic or something like that. Oh, that's cool. I like these guys. They remind me of some of the side characters from like Kirby. Kind of like the dudes that follow Meta Knight around. They're just like sort of random warrior guys. But then imagining sort of like Green Lantern, how different alien species, how would these masks sort of fit onto their faces? So a lot of these are like the first drafts of the characters that would become a little bit more refined over time. So there's him, reimagined, sort of a final larger one. This is another one I did in Copic that I definitely shouldn't have, but there it is. Wow, okay, so I've done a lot of different versions of these characters. Again, this goes back to the comic that Jonah and I made. At the time of drawing this, I was big into reading how to draw books. I have several of them up in my closet that are very heavy cartoon style, which explains sort of the stylistic shift between how I normally draw them and then how they look here. Okay, so I remember this character becomes a much more serious character later on. So a bunch of these are just like sketches. Like I don't even know what some of these were. I was just messing around with stuff. This is probably some of my favorite stuff in any of my sketchbooks, is just me looking back through being like, what was happening here? It was just like a whole mess of ideas. And I liked that, you know? I still like that. I remember this character. This was a character that I came across in the first time I ever played Dungeons and Dragons. One of the players was playing as a character named Friar Butterball, and this guy didn't do anything, but his charisma was so high that he could just amass a group of followers, and we would go into these caves that have like traps, and he would just send his minions out to die. He was not a good guy, but very effective. And I remember I must have drawn him. I forgot I did that. Oh, there's Scantron again. Oh, see, now this is interesting. So yeah, that's what Professor Zoof looks like in the comics. And then this one, too complex, and then this one. I can't remember what art style I was basing this off of. Probably like Adventure Time, or something like that. Something even more simplified than before. Whoa. Oh, I remember this. So this is kind of embarrassing. I bought some fancy ink pens with like a softer brush tip because there was a specific artist on Instagram, and I saw that he used that type of brush, and then I tried to use it on one of my drawings on this type of paper. And let me just tell you something. When you're trying to cover surface area this big, and you don't have a firm grasp on using that type of pen, you end up with this, which is just sort of a worse version of this character, not executed very well. And I still have the brush tip markers or pens that this is from. I just didn't pick them back up, and I really should, because you can get some very nice stuff. So this is one where it looks like I was trying to develop some sort of poster design. I'm trying to remember which characters are which or what this was for, but it's another situation where I was messing around with different art styles. And then this looks like just a sketch page. And again, heavily inspired by Gravity Falls. These expressions here, definitely. These are more the succulents. I remember these guys. Not sure what this one was for. I remember this guy. This guy shows back up later, but I don't know what this was for at all. Oh, this is kind of cool. So you can actually see like the evolutions of this character. So it starts... Oh, well, no, that character might come up later. But this character specifically, the origins of this character, and then finally like the pose with the one I used. Yeah, you'll notice I said don't use Copics. That didn't stop me. I used Copics one time in this book, realized it was a bad idea, and kept doing it. So, cautionary tale. I did some color tests over here. I really like the design of this character a lot. Okay, I remember this guy too. So we saw the beginnings of this character back here somewhere. It's probably going to be too difficult to find now. Or no, right here. You can see the pen mark. This right here was probably taken from like a Doc Ock drawing. And then you get this guy, and then you get this cat character here, who's supposed to be some sort of a wise, monkish character, but has a bunch of crazy robotic arms. Which that's always fun. Let's see, what else? Oh, wow, okay. We have the fully colored in Agent Corvine. I remember this guy by name. I don't remember all these characters by name. They have names, but they're all in like old Instagram posts that I would have to find. Loved the design for this guy. He's one of the Infinites, but I was going for more of like espionage, noir, bird detective guy. It's very hard to describe the origins of this character. But just having like a fun design for him was really cool. Like, and I am now recognizing some of the notations that I did end up putting on here to help me keep straight which ones these characters belong to. So here is this character. Now I'm trying to remember. I think this is a different character than the other cursed elf character that was previously in the book. This one has like some cursed sigils across her body. I can't remember if I ended up doing anything with this character or not. if I ended up doing like another version of her. I do remember Ignatia. Ignatia was a lot of fun. I loved her design. Just like a ball of fire. It ends up looking like, oh, what is it? It's Fireboy and Water Girl or something like that. But still, it's a fun design. I'm pretty sure I did a couple more renditions of this character. But yeah, I got good mileage out of those Copics, even though they bled all over the place. Okay, so now I'm starting to remember. Oh, okay. So maybe, now that I'm thinking about it, I might have it in reverse. When I go back through some of my sketchbooks, it's the opposite, where you start with something like this, and then I'll make changes or recommendations for changes in pen. But I think this was definitely, I was reading it the wrong way. This is the first version in pen, and then these are the final versions where I used pencil and like a felt tip marker. So it actually does go from the pen versions over to the final versions. But it's interesting because, like I said, in one of the earlier pages back here, there was a couple instances where the pen, you know, where like, I feel like maybe it went in opposite directions, where sometimes I was drawing the newer version in pen, but like this, this and this one's pretty much the same, but I almost like the pen versions better of some of these design choices that I made. But that's not unusual for me. I feel that way about a lot of stuff. Oh yeah, I forgot I made like a dapper eyeball bad guy who ends up showing up later on. Cannonball, is he like his henchman? I get a little bat knight character. Okay, so here's the brother of the eyeball gangster guy, who's like a sneak thief. I did not remember this one. But here's like this is color pencil. And I was messing around with like multi-tone stuff here, which I think I do another version of this character later on that has much better coloring. But this was like the start of that. I liked the eyeball design. I liked all the crazy stuff coming off of him. Very symbiote-esque, like Venom or something like that. Whoa! Okay, so this is really cool. So this was a version of Flyofoxus, who is the first character that me and my buddy Jake came up with for the made-up planet that we created together called Captania. And then on Hero Forge, once I discovered Hero Forge, I went in and made a bunch of Captanian characters, but then I tried to do like pencil drawings of the Hero Forges that I was making. So that's where this comes from. This one's cool. However, it's not true to the original design as much. Hero Forge was very limited in what they could do back then, but it's just an interesting take on that character. I remember this guy. I think I gave up on this, but I ended up circling back to this dragon character with these blades later on. Like, I did a different version of this character. We got another, like, Fey warrior lady. She's got some spears. That's cool. Oh, there's the same guy. This dragon dude with the spikes. I just don't think I liked the pose. I thought the pose was wrong. Eventually I did end up doing something with this character, but I guess it took me a while to find the right pose for him. There's another Copic. I used this green a lot. I wouldn't be surprised if that was one of the first ones that went. But you can see this design on the face is, I believe the origins of that character is back here, I think. I think this is where I got the idea for that. But then just obviously added some elements. I liked like the blade. I mean, it looks like kind of like a glorified razor blade or something like that, but as the tip of the spear, it's pretty cool. I liked that. Delightful blank page. More delightful blank pages. Okay, so this was, I want to say, for the first D&D campaign that I ran as a dungeon master. I think this was the continent that I came up with when I was designing the map. That looks like some sort of family tree. I think I was coming up with sort of the connected universe of Dimension 1049 over here. And then this guy I love. Love, love, love. I didn't do a lot of cool stuff with coloring, admittedly, especially in this book. Outside of, using the Copics way too much. But using this 3-tone really gave that molten feel that I was going for. Having the bright white, then the orange, then the red. I was really happy with how this one turned out in specific. And then you can just see a whole mess of everything. Just messing around with the Copics. I remember what these were. I saw some video somewhere where if you have like a marker and you color with Copic and then you go back over it in black and then you can sort of shape smaller designs on the inside. It was just a test. It was another test of the Copics. Let's see. That's a map for some reason. Some lion sketches. There's the dapper eyeball gangster guy. There's the sinister scientist character. There's a random Mario for some reason. I don't know why. I remember her. Remember him, obviously, still. Oh, okay, so this character, I think this one, Jonah or I came up with this character. He's like a jack-o'-lantern detective character. So this page is just full of designs for that character. Eyeball guy's back again. Whoa, there is a lot going on here. Okay, so I think I remember this. So these, I was trying to formalize some of the stuff that I made for that make-believe planet from years ago by creating actual species names and traits and features. And I think I was describing a specific race of creature that sort of just re-emerged again and again and again in some of my older sketches. And I also came up with that guy. I love this guy. I believe this guy's name is Sidian. Really liked his design. Let's see. Don't know what you were. Some sort of squire. I remember this guy, because I think I redrew him later. I have no idea what was going on here. None. I have no idea what any of these were for. I remember these guys, because I think I used them for an Inktober drawing eventually. I really do like this design of this character specifically. He's just... that guy's just fun. Oh, I did... I guess I should go in order here. So, I don't remember what the merman was for. But I remember this is where the smaller eyeball guy came from. And then that, I don't know, that might have been for one of the other cursed fairy characters. But this, I did some sketch cards. I don't know where they went. I'd have to try and figure out where they went off to. But I did a sketch card of Samurai Jack and Ashi from the final season of Samurai Jack. Don't know where those went. This is another dapper alien detective. Can't remember his backstory. Okay, so that's what the lion design was for. It was for this chimera character. I remember this guy. So here's that weird little droid with the rolling wheel here. There's some fun, just sketch designs. I love that guy's expression. Love it. That was definitely Sidian, like early on. Yeah, so a lot of these were just like final designs. I think a lot of these ended up on Instagram. Any of these felt tip drawing ones, I definitely posted at some point. I remember her. I remember this guy. I really like the ridiculously stubby sword design. I like that. Like a bandit goblin character. Enemy Dimension 1049's resident space demons? I don't remember this. Don't remember this at all. There's some bad guys. Oh no, okay. This is some fun, simpler design, cute little characters. What was I basing these off of? I'm not sure. You know what? These might have been... I think I was toying around with Go-Go's at this point. I think that's what this is. is these were some early Go-Go's designs, which several of these would end up getting combined with other characters in the Toy Box series of drawings that I'm doing right now. Okay, here's more of the felt tip drawings. These are more finalized. I loved this guy. He was like a weird crab claw arm aqua sea general character. Liked him. So this was an art competition for something that a user on Instagram, I want to say it was Levi or Levi Zoe is like the username or the handle. Can't remember what it was, but it was a monster competition to draw the monster that the character that he made was standing next to. So there's this weird long-sleeved bad guy character. This is kind of cool. I remember this ends up being like a time-traveling ninja character. That's where the origins of that one fairy lady from the front of the book was from, I think. I remember this guy. I did like a space luchador character. I'm just now realizing how, like, the degree to which I've always been obsessed with compiling like a bunch of weird characters together. I love it so much. So these designs, I remember where they came from because I took a smaller notebook with me to, it's called Fourth Friday. It's near where I live. But basically, it's just a bunch of vendors, and I was, a high schooler, I was bored, I didn't want to go, so I brought a little sketchbook with me, and anytime I came across a design or a shape that I liked, I would draw it as a character. So I think that's where these characters came from. I remember this guy. He shows up later. There's the final version of the bug guy. There's the dragon with the claw. I draw him several more times, but I just kept coming back to that idea. That's the weird curse lady. Okay, I'm remembering that now. That design for her. There's the luchador. There's the furnace guy. There's the little cat dude. So there were several iterations of each character, which I think it's cool that worked out for this video because you're seeing a lot of the same characters just at different stages of their development. There's the ant astronaut space guy. There's the henchman robot guy. There's the cursed fairy with the burnt wings. Here's a dragon dude with electricity. I gotta keep rotating this around. Look at all these guys. Yeah, I definitely posted like all of these on Instagram years ago. And all their origins just come from like older stuff. Like even this sketchbook was used even back then. A lot of it was about taking older characters and bringing them forward, which is something I still harp on, still very much believe in today. So, okay, well, that's it for this book. There's a lot of characters in here, a lot of fun stuff. Hopefully this will be fine. Hopefully you guys will appreciate this. I don't have too much extra to say outside of just giving you that tour of all these characters and trying to remember what the heck I was thinking when I was making them. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this. I'll probably do more of these at some point as I continue cleaning up and finding more of these old sketchbooks. I will try and update you guys whenever I come across these. But I think the coolest takeaway for me is you just see the same characters over and over, bouncing around in different styles until finally you get to like the final versions of them. And knowing where the ideas started and how they end, I continue to implore anybody watching this, hold on to stuff like this. I don't want you to become a hoarder, but like legitimately don't pitch your ideas outright. Archive them somehow, because then you will always have stuff that you can go back to, refer to, expand on, make alternate versions of. You actually have it. It's tangible. It's harder to forget if it's something that you can just flip through. But yeah, that's going to do it for this video. So thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.